Today we're going to be doing a tiny home. Right now we're just getting the shape down and moving it around where we want it. And then we're going to go ahead and put in the porch. Next we're going to do the stairs, and then I think I'm going to put on a fence, but I don't like it, so I end up taking it off. And then I end up looking at the sides of the build, trying to figure out like where I want things to go, and trying to figure out, what I want to happen. Basically for the exterior of the build. I end up going with this really pretty burnt orange color, which I end up using inside also. But I end up not having as much of it. And now you're going to see me kind of jump ahead a little bit when I put on the roofing. Yep, see, there we go. Mostly because I'm trying to cut my videos down because I know nobody wants to sit here and listen to me talk for 45 minutes. So I'm trying to cut out as much as I can. Right here you see me trying to put on a porch. But it ends up not working, and I end up going with just a building up there instead of the porch that I was trying to do, just because of the way the roofing is. I end up bumping out that bedroom to make it a little bit bigger because it was a little too small. And so I end up doing that and then putting in some custom content that I end up deleting all that. So I end up cutting most of that out, and you'll see me kind of, yep, there it goes. I just cut it all out. And now I'm going to put some more custom content in there, but then I end up deleting that later, so I cut that out as well. Now I'm just trying to figure out how to put some clutter over here in this corner on this little dresser that the person or Sim has, just to kind of give it a little bit of, of a lived-in look. You know how it is. Anyway, so you'll see me doing that, and then you'll see me kind of changing the colors of things and trying to figure out the windows next after I figure out the walls and the flooring. But then I end up going ahead and putting in some different windows and not liking them and end up changing them. So these windows here, I don't end up staying with. I end up actually getting rid of them later and going with something completely different. Also on that orange color, I end up not using as much of it as what I originally did. Here I'm like playing with the doors. I couldn't decide what doors I wanted to do, but I end up with a door from Eco Lifestyle. It's not that one. It's actually a different one. Just because it looked really nice with the build. It was very open and I liked it. I ended up putting metal roofing on here. I ended up playing with the metal roofing for a while. Cut a lot of that out, but you still see some of it. And then I end up going ahead and putting on the edging of the roofs and going ahead and starting on the interior, I believe, after I do this. Oh, no, actually, I put out some stuff on the exterior, I think, now that I think about it, after I got the colors down. I end up doing, I think, just that little bit orange on where the door is. Oh, yeah, and I ended up putting in these windows that are from Pets, I think, just because they looked good. And then I end up going downstairs after I do that. I play with that picture for a while and then end up downstairs. Don't ask me how. Then you'll see me kind of jump ahead again because I just started playing with the custom, like the content, trying to pull out what I wanted to put in the build. And I just stuck a bunch of stuff in the living room, and I figured you guys didn't need to watch me do that. So, like searching through that. So, yep, 13 minutes later, I start on the bathroom. Anyway, on the bathroom, I was just thinking, I didn't really know what I wanted. I started off with this kind of gray sink, and then I kind of built off that and end up going with a gray theme for that bathroom. I liked it in the end. I do believe that I don't know how it looked. I'm not sure I'm happy with it now that I look at it in the build, but it is what it is, and it's there, so you're welcome. Yeah, I know. I'm such a bad person. I'm like, too bad. So sad. Anyways, I end up like moving everything around in there a bunch, and I end up cutting a lot of that out. Oh, this is like the minimal amount of this. And again, I'm spinning the camera. I'm so sorry. And I don't end up putting that shelf in there. I actually end up deleting that shelf later just because that shelf doesn't work in this build as well as what I thought it would, because I thought it would work really well, but it didn't end up working that way. So I ended up putting some Parenthood stuff and then some wallpaper in there, a gray wallpaper that I didn't end up liking. So after that, I started playing with the lighting. I ended up putting a bunch of lighting in there and not liking any of it. So I ended up deleting it all and going with this because it's kind of like a light on the wall and then an overhead light, which a lot of bathrooms have. So I felt like it worked in that bath. So then I start putting in a mirror and going ahead and recoloring things, moving things around, and getting ready to start on the kitchen next. But right now I'm just kind of trying to situate things and get them all nice and pretty. I end up putting some different wallpaper, I mean, not wallpaper, but flooring in there, some tile. I don't remember what color I ended up using. I think it was a gray color though. And then I start working on the kitchen. I actually end up using that space to kind of divide the kitchen, but then end up in later on putting in walls just because it didn't work so well the way I had it. With just that, because I needed more room for cabinets, and you can't hang cabinets on those things. So I ended up putting in a little wall there and a little half wall on the other side to kind of separate the two spaces, which I actually ended up liking a lot better than this right here. So I ended up going ahead and messing around with the bathroom again, because we all know how I do. Anyways, so right here you'll see me adding the wall to the kitchen and kind of moving that into the wall a little bit because I like that little accent there. But I end up finding this pink and then making that gray because it looked really good together. Later on, I'll end up actually separating the kitchen from the living room just because it worked better for the build. Right now, I'm just putting in the cabinets and trying to figure out what I want to do with the cabinets, and then also putting in a range hood over there. I actually cut out a lot of me putting in the range hood because I tried a couple different ones and they didn't really work. So I ended up going with this one, which actually works in the space. So I liked it. But I really wanted a different one, but that's neither here nor there. Anyways, so now I'm going to actually start putting in these shelves, which actually drove me nearly mad because they were impossible to get, because I guess they didn't consider that a room. So it kept trying to like jump up. It was the most annoying thing ever. So even though I was using the little shelf to like put my things there, it kept jumping up and it just was about to drive me crazy. So I end up not putting a whole bunch of clutter on those things like I normally would, just because I was a pain in the rump and I was like, no, I'm not dealing with this. Because that's how I am. I don't do things that annoy me. I give up. I'm like, nope, I'm done. I'll try it for a while, but then I'm like, no, I'm good. So anyways, you see me now putting like clutter on the countertops, trying to figure out where I want it, and just, figuring out. And then you'll see that red shelf that's over there. And that red shelf is actually a really convenient piece of CC that a modder made. I guess it's a mod. It basically lets you put it at a different height and then go ahead and get your, sorry about the camera there, go ahead and let you get your stuff at the right height that you want it, and it works really well. I'll try to link it in the comments just so you guys know about it. And you can download it if you want it, if you like to clutter, and it's very convenient for that. Now, it takes a little bit of getting used to, though. Now I'm actually putting in a counter on the other side there, and I'm going to go ahead and size some stuff down and play with it. Oops, sorry, there was a big truck that just went by. I'm going to actually go ahead and put that over there and then start to clutter those shelves. And then I'm going to put in a sink on that other side there, because I felt like the space actually was really too big. It ends up being too big. Even though it's only like one tile wide, it was like the kitchen was huge. The kitchen pretty much takes up this whole build. It's probably the biggest room in the whole house. Anyways, there's me playing with that shelf, and I ended up deleting it after this. I like put it in the corner there and then delete it afterwards. Now I'm actually going back and putting some more clutter in the kitchen because I'm like, okay, I got to clutter this a little bit more. It's not going to be, that bad. And I convinced myself that I could handle it. So I went back to the kitchen and did a little bit more cluttering on those shelves, and ended up getting some clutter on those shelves. Just because I was like, you can't leave them completely empty. So then I started putting in the little table, and that's when I realized that the kitchen is too small, that it needs to be just a slightly bigger to give them space to like kind of walk, because otherwise they can't get past the counter or in that corner chair. So I end up going ahead and doing that and moving that over and bringing in the porch a little bit so that the build can still be a tiny build. Then I end up going for like some different colors and fixing the roof and doing that kind of stuff. And I ended up with this burnt orange color, which I actually ended up really liking in this kitchen. And then that's when you see me like moving stuff around, trying to figure out how to like separate these two spaces. And then right there, I'm putting in a nice little rug, and then I'm going to put in the tile for this room after I separate them right there. I'm going to actually end up doing the same color tile as the little tiles on the bottom there. I'm going to end up doing that kind of orange tile there. And then you'll see me put in the half wall. And because I hate seeing that line, I always put a little column there to kind of separate the two colors, because I feel like it makes more sense than just having those two colors butt up against each other. It didn't work for me. So anyways, I'm going to end up going into the living room and starting to put down some stuff in there. And I'm going to do a TV stand that actually doesn't end up being a TV stand. It's just a table underneath the TV, because the TV I tried first doesn't work. And so there you'll see me using my little shelf, and you'll see me kind of stacking everything on it and kind of pulling it down to where it's level. And that's kind of what you want to do when you're using that. And it can take a little bit of like learning, but it works out. And then I end up putting those bookshelves on and doing like 3 of them and making like a bigger book stack just because it looked nice. And then I end up putting a bunch of clutter on that shelf. There's me playing with the TV. Oh, I forgot I did this. Now entering the future. Right. I found that and I wanted to play with it. So you're welcome. There needs to be some kind of transition between those 2 clips because they were awful when they were smacked together. But basically, I cut out me playing with the TV because I played with a bunch of different TVs and took the TV off and put the TV back on. It was just a pain. Anyway. So there you see me finishing the cluttering, and those are items from Batu. So if you see Batu on this, don't like freak out. It's not really like there's a bunch of the Batu stuff in here. There's just those, and there might be some like outside plants or something. But if you don't have Batu, you can still download this build and have the majority of it be exactly like it is. Just because I really didn't use that much other than those little lamp things. Now you'll see me putting in the flooring, and you'll see me putting in the edging for the platform that's on the inside as a step down. I just felt like that big drop in would need like a step down if you were really making this a real house. So now you see me putting in a little plant in the corner. I didn't really like the chair. I put the chair over on the side there. Those are from Parenthood. I like those lighting. But I put a chair over there in that corner and ended up cutting that out because it just didn't work. It felt like it was too close and the space was like too small, kind of like in the kitchen. So I actually ended up putting some poofs there, I think, in a few minutes underneath that painting that I actually downsize a little bit, I think. And then end up putting those poofs in. And there I'm putting in a little rug to make it look nice and cohesive. And then I put those little poofs in. I changed the color of some of those poofs and put in another one, I think. And then I think I go back up to the bedroom after this. Oh, no, I go to the kitchen. In the kitchen, I wanted to put these orange paintings and kind of keep it all together and then kind of bring in the colors from the living room as well. So you'll see me put some more paintings on the side there. I'm actually using the Dine Out pack, which is a great pack if you don't have it for clutter, especially for kitchen clutter. It's just excellent. Even if you don't like the gameplay, the clutter is amazing. It's kind of like Parenthood. Parenthood has amazing clutter, even if you don't like the gameplay. Now I'm trying to figure out what to do with that corner because I felt like that was like a really open space and there was like nothing there. So, but I didn't want to put a shelf there, so I ended up putting like a wall shelf instead of like a big shelf and a mirror there just to kind of like make it, look nice. And then I end up going to the living room. Imagine that. I went to another room. How dare I? But I had to change the colors. It was important. It was important. I'm telling you, very important. Anyway, So now I'm back in the kitchen and I'm going to put some laundry soap and some other things on that shelf just to kind of give it something, because you can't just put a shelf in the corner and not put anything on it, because why is the shelf there? Anyway, so I do that and then I go upstairs and start putting the curtains in. And my imagination was that those would be screened, because could you imagine waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning covered in mosquitoes? Ew, grody. So in my mind, in The Sims, you just can't see those beautiful, screens on those windows. I ended up changing the colors a couple of times, trying to think that maybe I want a different color, but I ended up going with the orange and yellow. Apparently, the build here is like orange is the color. So then I end up, like moving stuff around and putting stuff in there, because you don't have a lot of space in there. And then I go downstairs and start on the exterior, where I start putting in some stuff, and end up, kind of moving everything around and kind of deleting some stuff on the porch and putting in some new stuff, and then starting the landscaping. I did most of the landscaping with Debug, just because I needed to save money, because I was trying to make this build like cheaper than my other builds have been. And so I did that. I was successful, but the reason I did that was because I used all this stuff from Debug, which I love. All these plants and things are from Debug, which is a great way to save money on your builds, by the way. Pro tip. And then I end up finding some really cool fencing that I end up putting in. I love those plants, by the way. I think they're from Eco Lifestyle, so if you have that, you'll have those. Anyway, I put in some stuff around the trees, because you always have to put something around the trees or else they look funky. I ended up deleting that little table because I was going to put it there, but I ended up not. And I just realized that I forgot to color the ground darker. You're welcome. You'll have to do that yourself. I'm so sorry. I forgot. It happens. That's my cat. I'm sorry. He's yelling. He wants in my room and I'm not letting him in right now. Because I'm recording and I don't want him knocking stuff off. Anyway, so I ended up putting a bunch of plants and things around the build. But I wanted this to kind of be an eco-friendly build so that you could kind of pay it off the grid. So part of the reason why I did most of this is so that it's small and kind of compacted, so that you can kind of not have to use a lot for utilities and stuff. And then also, I end up using that and putting it a little bit bigger one there. And then I put in the fence. And then I think we're almost done with this build. Wow, we are almost done. That's crazy. Anyways, so I put in that fence and I put it all the way around. And I ended up having to play with it for a while. So I ended up cutting out some of that. Sorry, I didn't figure you wanted to see me flipping things around 100 times. In order to get it in there quite right, perfectly. And then I end up moving everything around and putting it in the corners there and getting it all settled. And then you'll see me get to the front of the build, and there's some planters there that you probably had not seen because I didn't show me placing those. But I actually end up deleting them, so don't get attached to them. They don't end up working with the way the build was. I tried to make them work but couldn't. And then I found that cute little barrel and I put that there. And then I put in some stones, some garden stones, which I liked, in the other little rocks and stuff. And that's it. That's the build. And if you want to, you can like and share. I would appreciate it.